We've got the top 5 waiver wire players for you to target for Week 8 of fantasy football, and it starts right now. It's a big day of football. You can do this. Make those good decisions. There's never a better time than this week. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Follow. This is the top 5 waiver wire players to target for Week 8. Your chance to improve your roster as we move forward through this fantasy football season. Let's get right into it. The top player to target this week on the waiver wire, it's Kenneth Gainwell from the Philadelphia Eagles, currently rostered in 22% of all leagues. This is a little bit of an interesting pick to me. We've seen Gainwell have some productive weeks already this year. And with the injury to Miles Sanders, somebody is going to see an increase in volume there in the backfield. The problem is we have seen Boston Scott fulfill that role in the past when it's come to injuries. So it's a little bit of a question mark whether it's going to be Gainwell getting most of the work or Scott. But nonetheless, I think it's worthy of Gainwell getting the number 1 spot because of the potential there that exists for him moving forward. Again, on the waiver wire, it's not just about what these players have done, but it's also about the matchups that lie ahead for these players that give them the potential to produce. And for Gainwell and the Eagles, the next 4 weeks, Detroit, the LA Chargers, Denver, and then the New Orleans Saints. In terms of fantasy points allowed to the running back spot by those teams, Detroit is number 1. The Chargers are number 5. Denver and New Orleans, not quite as high. Denver is actually 5th fewest, and New Orleans is 24th, so just below the halfway point. But some really nice matchups ahead for a running back spot for the Philadelphia Eagles. This last week, Gainwell, 5 rushes for 20 yards, 8 targets, 4 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown against Las Vegas. I think Kenneth Gainwell, based on the potential alone, he warrants that spot at number 1 on this week's list. At number 2, wait a minute, is that right? Is that the right graphic? He's number 2? At number 2, it's Evan Engram from the New York Giants. Yeah, I think I just said that right. It's Evan Engram from the New York Giants. I can't believe I'm saying number 2 on the list of waiver wire players to target. Those of you that are regulars know how I feel about Evan Engram as one of the most unpredictable players in terms of fantasy scoring. But at this point, the New York Giants have so many injuries, they've got to go to somebody. And Engram has actually had a reasonable amount of volume in this offense. Last week, 8 targets, 6 catches, 44 yards against Carolina. His targets overall game by game this year, 6, 6, 4, 5, and 8. Not bad at the tight end spot. His fantasy points, 2, 7, 11, 5, 11. Never really one for consistency there. But again, it's the matchups ahead for Evan Engram. The next 4 games for New York, Kansas City, Las Vegas, then a bye, and then Tampa Bay. Fantasy points allowed to the tight end spot by those teams. Kansas City, 5th most. Las Vegas, 6th most. Tampa Bay, 9th most. All of those matchups in the top 10. This is a really nice run of games for Evan Engram if you want to take the chance on streaming him as your tight end. At number 3, we've got Rashad Penny from the Seattle Seahawks, currently rostered in 33% of all leagues. Again, a little bit interesting here with the injury to Chris Carson. We've seen Alex Collins in past weeks. Penny now off of IR, and you would think that once they are fully confident in giving him more of a workload in this offense, that Penny probably slide in ahead of Collins in terms of the running backs there. 6 rushes, 9 yards against the Saints on Monday Night Football. So perhaps on a little bit of a pitch count. Interesting to see how this one will work out. The run of games is okay. The next 4 for Seattle, Jacksonville, then a bye, then Green Bay, then Arizona. So Jacksonville currently allowing the 11th most fantasy points to the running back spot. Green Bay at 17, Arizona at 27. I think there is a decent chance that Rashad Penny does see more volume as the weeks go on for Seattle. And again, I don't think this is an overall very deep week on the waiver wire. So Rashad Penny slot in at number 3 here for Week 8. At number 4, Tyler Conklin from the Minnesota Vikings, tight end rostered in 9% of all leagues currently. Conklin has had reasonably good volume there for the Vikings, reasonably good fantasy points, but again, a really good run of games coming off the bye. They've got Dallas, Baltimore, the Chargers, and then Green Bay. And again, fantasy points allowed at the tight end spot by those 4 teams. Dallas at 11, Baltimore at 3, the Chargers at 1, Green Bay at 14. So as difficult as it is to find streamers at the tight end spot, this is some potential there with a nice run of games for the Minnesota Vikings. And at number 5, we've got Darius Slayton from the New York Giants, currently rostered in 15% of all leagues. This situation very similar to Evan Engram. With so many injuries continuing for the Giants, it got to turn to somebody there. And Darius Slayton, this last game, 9 targets, 5 catches, 63 yards versus Carolina. He's actually had decent targets in the games when he's been healthy. Of course, he's been out due to injury a little bit. But his targets overall, week 1, week 2, 7 and 6. Only 1 in week 3. I would assume that was when he went out with the injury. And then 9 this last week. The run is not great, but at the same time, we're talking about volume here because of all the injuries. Kansas City this week, Las Vegas the week after that, then a bye, and then Tampa Bay. Fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver spot by those 4 teams. Kansas City 22nd, Las Vegas 27th, and then Tampa Bay 7th. So simply based on volume, New York has to have somebody to turn to get the ball to. Again, Darius Slayton does slot in here at number 5 on our list for week 8. So again, there's the rundown of this week's top 5. Kenneth Gainwell at the number 1 spot, currently rostered in 22% of all leagues. Evan Engram at number 2, currently rostered in 31% of all leagues. Rashad Penny for the Seattle Seahawks, currently rostered in 33% of all leagues. Tyler Conklin from Minnesota, 9% of all leagues. And Darius Slayton from the New York Giants, currently rostered in 15% of all leagues. Thanks for checking out our top 5 waiver wire players to target for week 8. Also, don't forget to check out our 6 picks video. And of course, if you enjoy our content, feel free to drop us a like. And if you haven't done so yet, feel free to subscribe to our channel. The likes and subscribes really do help out a ton. And as always, good luck in fantasy. We'll see you next time.